September 2nd, 2025 Committee of the Whole meeting. In compliance with the Open Meeting Acts, a current copy of this act is available at this meeting. Madam Clerk, will you please call roll?
Alarcon.
Here.
Barr.
Here.
Hemer.
Here.
Jablonski.
Here.
Lopez.
Here.
Polensky.
Here.
Roth.
Here.
Schilling.
Here.
Council President Jablonski, the roll has been called.
Thank you. We have several items on the agenda. The first up is a presentation by Erickson Sullivan Architects on the Quail Run Golf Course Clubhouse and Pro Shop. It's all yours.
Primarily been working with Rick and Braden and Betsy on this project. What we handed out to you is a booklet that goes into much more detail than the presentation I'll run through. So you can flip through the book at the same time. You'll see some of the same information, some of it expanded a little bit more. So what we've done is looked at the existing clubhouse and pro shop with the intention originally to see if we could do an addition to this building. What we found obviously is that the building is undersized for its current use. The pro shop is very crowded with supplies. The cafe is undersized for the number of people that you have there for tournaments and everything else. You have about a 700 square foot pro shop and controller space. The cafe is about 1,200 square feet. We feel like you could probably double most of those and make better use of the building. Especially like I mentioned, you've got state golf that comes here. You've got some larger tournaments. You've got businesses around here that host events, and not enough space to do that. From what we've seen right now, you set up a tent outside to accommodate those, and that's not a great setup when it's 95 degrees out. We looked a little bit at the course itself and played the course, of course, and the views, the access from and to the building. What we found is that your pro shop controller doesn't have the greatest views to the tee boxes like would be ideal. There's not great views to the putting or the greens for 9 and 18 from the event space, and that's where we really see as ideal. If you want something that you can, capture those golfers to stick around after a round of golf, or when you're having events or rentals, you want people to sit there and have a great view to your course and show off what you have. And so the existing building itself doesn't do that very well. Other things that we found, and again we went into more detail in that booklet, are things like the HVAC is not compliant with current codes. It's not up to standards for even the size of the building. It can't keep up when you get all the people in there. You've got restrooms that are not ADA compliant. They're undersized. They need to be expanded upon. The building envelope itself is non-compliant with energy code. It's dated to some extent. You don't have a drainage behind the brick masonry that this is constructed out of. All these things, along with the additional issues that we found, ultimately, and looking at the cost that it may take to essentially gut this building and do an addition to it, and having that addition be really tied to that existing building footprint, didn't make a lot of sense. So ultimately what we've done is recommended that that current clubhouse be torn down and that a new one can be built in its place that can accommodate the large number of people that you have coming and going, can be a better place for gathering after a round of golf, for gathering during and after an event, can become an event space, a rental space, so provide some income to the city possibly, and just a much better building that can provide a better experience for your public. So what we've done is taken a look and we got into some preliminary design on this. Started with what we say gather, and that was gathering all that information on the existing building, talking to users, talking to your staff and what they really wanted in a building. We did hold a public presentation where we showed what I'm going to show you here for a new design to the golfers primarily, but it was open to anybody that wanted to come join us. And we did also put a online public survey out there so that people could give some comments and feedback on what they liked, what they didn't like, and any features that they didn't see or thought would be great in this building. As a starting point, just as a diagram, we thought it was important to keep those views from the pro shop and the controllers to the 1 and 10 tees so that they can see people as they're leaving. Also some views and just adjacency to the cart shed and cart staging. And then that event space, again, those views to the the greens of 9 and 18 were important. And then making sure that all those spaces were sized accordingly and able to handle the larger groups. This was the primary program that we came up with as a group, increasing the sizes of all those spaces and adding a few extra functions like that event space, storage for the event space, a decent sized warming kitchen that can be used to serve some food out of there without getting into restaurant capabilities, but something a little bit better than what you have there now, and just more space in pretty much every function of the building. And I'm going to let Ben run through here, so we'll talk through now the preliminary schematic design that we've come up with.
So one of the things that we really took a look at was the routing of the different pedestrians, of golf carts, of things like that, and you'll see that illustrated in the booklet as well. But we wanted to limit the amount of times that those two groups are coming into contact with each other, crossing over, just really keeping in mind that traffic. So that started to shape the building and where it actually sat on the site. And as we started working through that a little bit more, again, trying to maintain those primary views, making the event space a place where you would go and have a snack or have a drink after a round of golf, that you can see your friends coming in behind you. You can see the primary views, the really beautiful spots of the golf course from this location, where you can look down and see all the green and see all just how lush it is into the golf course. We also, in the pro shop, like I said, wanted to provide some of those views to make sure that no one's sneaking onto the course and they haven't paid yet, that sort of thing. And that started to lend itself into this general shape. We were able to get the bar and concession space in a position where it could both facilitate the event space, but then also facilitate golfers that are coming between their front 9 and their back 9, and really maximize, like I said, those views, that proximity. So this became the general shape, trying to be conscious of budget and create something that is simple, easy to build, but that is something interesting, something new, and something that meets all of the goals that we set out to meet at the beginning of our programming phase. One of the ideas that came up that was well liked was having not only those views out of the clubhouse towards the golf course, that'd be towards the bottom left in this image, but having outdoor space that you could not only sit at, but then if you did have an event, a graduation, any sort of reception, anything like that, that you could actually use some of this lawn space to be able to go out and be fully outside and kind of have a mix of indoor and outdoor space. If it rains, you can come back inside, but it gives you the flexibility, and my understanding is the ground staff certainly knows how to cut grass, so we feel like it'll be pretty easy to maintain. So we have a number of renderings here, which are also in those booklets, just of some of our preliminary designs, textures, things like that. The floor plan itself. I kind of explained that a little bit, but here on the south end, you'll have that outdoor patio and the event space, which could be rented out. It could be utilized during some of the various tournaments, things like that, that are held here. It could just be seating space for someone who grabbed a hot dog from the concession area and wants to sit in the air conditioning. Full restrooms, the storage space to be able to move tables and chairs in and out for a really flexible space that can facilitate different kinds of seating and different kinds of events. The bar and concession area, that's pretty central. One of the ideas that was well liked in our public meeting was having an outdoor order window. So you can drive up with your golf cart, jump out real quick, go order your drinks, your food for the second half of your round, and you can go right on your way. You don't have to go inside and if you don't want to. So it can potentially expedite that process. Then additionally, we have the pro shop to the north end. It's further on the north side, again, for those views, but also we felt that if there was an event that was going on at a time when golf isn't happening in the middle of January, February, or at 8 o'clock at night, it gets dark, that being able to close off that pro shop would be important, that you're not having people wandering where they shouldn't be. So here's some of the interior views, the preliminary design. Then we had our survey results. So we had about 20 or so people fill out comment cards in addition to talking with the public for 2+ hours on site a couple Fridays ago. Seemed to be a great turnout. In addition to that, we left the rendering boards, a lot of the same imagery that we're showing you here today in the clubhouse with a survey link that somebody could go on and fill out our survey. It took about 3 minutes. And that way we could get some information, and really outside of our individual conversation, we can have some hard information to go on and also to present to you all. So we had 31 participants in our online survey. 83% of them were golfers. And then we had, down in the bottom left, we asked one question, which was, how likely are you to spend extra time in the clubhouse as it is? We had a separate question that was, how likely are you to spend time in this clubhouse or a renovated clubhouse, a new clubhouse? And what you're seeing there in the black dashed line is the old clubhouse, what's there currently, and then the blue is what we proposed as new. And what we saw was a pretty sharp uptick in the number of people that would be retained either before or after a round to hang around, have drinks, have food, and at the end of the day, that really helps out the budget of the golf course. We asked questions like what the regularity of visits was, just so we could get an idea of how many people were coming and how many people were coming there regularly, to really gauge, are we getting answers from the core demographic here? And then we had a couple of notes from the comment cards, just talking about the design, talking about what they liked, what they didn't like. And obviously we got plenty more than what we could list out on a single sheet, but we did get a lot of positive responses that we definitely felt good about the public meeting as a whole. Otherwise, I think we can open it up to questions.
Question?
Is the kitchen as proposed big enough for a grill and a fryer?
It'd probably be big enough right now. Our understanding is we weren't planning on that just for budgetary reasons. Once you get into a grill and fryer, then you need to get into a cooking hood and everything else that adds to that. And there's a lot of discussion actually in the public presentation. There did seem like there was a lot of interest from people who would like this place to serve not only as a golf course, but maybe even a restaurant or a place to go grab a burger or something like that. In talking through with the group, it's debatable and probably up to you all as to whether or not that's worth it to the city to expand that kitchen for that use. We're showing a kitchen that's larger than what they have now, so we can get some additional capabilities. Our firm also designs commercial kitchens, so we'd be able to help you with some of those pieces of equipment that could cook a pizza or a few other things, reheating or cooking without the need for those commercial kitchen hoods that might expand some of your menu options, but without getting into that full-blown restaurant kitchen sort of capability. That's when you really take a big step up in cost.
Does anybody know how much revenue we get on the food side currently?
Do you know? Not much.
Not much?
Not
Yeah,
much at
it's,
all.
I was
Minimal.
gonna say it's very minimal because of how it's set up in the contract. And, one of our talking points when we were in design with this was, it is still a municipal golf course and not a country club. And so we have to be able to still run it with that in mind as well, as to what would add to costs for staff and whatnot, to those areas. And so we thought for it to be a little bit more functional than it is right now is definitely helpful, but to also keep staffing in mind. And when there are big events, we already cater in, or the big event holders will cater in, meals and stuff like that. And so that's an avenue we can still continue to go down.
Any discussion about maybe leasing the kitchen to somebody as an option?
Initially, not yet.
Okay. And then we would be in charge of like rental of the event center, all of that would fall under the parks?
Not necessarily. No, it would go to the golf pro. But it is an additional space that we could,
I mean, that would all be negotiated.
through their contract.
That would be something you all would have to decide.
Well, you talk about parking being a problem, but you don't address what you're going to do with it.
Well, you're very right. Our first priority was to not expand into the parking lot and take away from what you have there now. There was some discussion among the group that the city may need to look to purchase additional land in the future to expand that parking. We think the parking could come south a little bit. We just really didn't get into the parking design other than trying not to take up anything that you have currently.
Any other questions?
Have you got an estimate for the cost of such a facility?
We do. We're very early, obviously, in the design, but just based on square foot and the size of the building and what we think construction type, this is in a $2 million range for the building. That equates to about $375 a square foot, which is what we're seeing on new construction a lot of times. And we know that the area is a little bit more expensive than what we've seen throughout the state, so we've accounted for that as well.
So somewhere in the area, 375, 400.
Yeah.
And what was your means of construction?
So, and we failed to mention it, but the two outer portions that have the slope roof, we're picturing that those could be pre-engineered metal building, just to utilize some of the companies you have here in town. And I think you could find some good partnerships with them that maybe that helps with some of that cost. The rest of the building, the flat roof areas, we would just assume is a steel truss type standard construction.
I would think that middle portion could be steel middle building as well with maybe just a 112 slope or something like that, so it's minimized, not to be noticeable, I guess.
Right.
To help with construction costs.
Yeah.
The other question I had was the event space. You mentioned blocking that off for events or whatnot, but how do you block that off from the general public if somebody's having a special event? Because it's wide open to the public there.
It is, and as we get into design further, one thought was some movable partitions that
Okay.
could close that off from the bar, and then maybe also a north-south one that could divide that into multiple smaller rental spaces. And part of the reason to have that bar and concession area in the central core is so that you maintain some seating for golfers if this event space is being rented out for something that's non-golf related, not a tournament, you still have areas for your golfers to come in and sit down and enjoy the bar.
May I ask a question? The construction cost obviously is important, but I think the more important thing for the council to consider is the ongoing operation and maintenance costs of this building. So will you guys be looking at the expected or estimated change in revenue and expense with this building?
You can do that any further as we get further into design. I think as the building is concerned as far as future maintenance, we look for very durable materials. We're looking at an masonry central core there. The pre-engineered metal building panels for the roof and walls are about as durable as you can get.
But I also mean just like staff, well, staffing it, you know, if there is a kitchen, how the pro agreement's going to change for us, those could be really big numbers year after year, is my point.
We do have a consultant on our team that has and can look more into that.
Could you speak into the microphone, please?
I'm sorry. We do have a consultant on our team that can look into that. We just haven't been tasked to look into those things yet.
I think a big part of that as well is, you know, one of the reasons why we're not moving forward with the current building is that it doesn't currently meet energy code. And while that doesn't address the staff question, you know, modern building code requires much more insulation, and much more energy efficient equipment. So just some of the utility costs there, may go down certainly from a square footage or per square foot amount, just because we're getting much better at HVAC as a society, and our insulation is getting much better on our walls, and it'll be a fully up-to-date modern building for that purpose.
Anything else for these two gentlemen?
I had one comment. I had a golfer when I was out the other day looking. He was looking at the schematics, the outside area, the seating area that you would have. One of the comments was to bring that eave out further,
Yep.
so that they're not sitting in the sun in the middle of July and August. They want to be outside probably. They'll take the heat, but they don't want our, you know, and I know this is all schematic, so it's probably, you know, easy to just add something, the thought was to bring out the roof line.
To bring
some.
that covered area out.
Maybe, I mean, that's just one comment. Maybe others want to be sitting out and get baked in the sun. I don't know.
No, it was a common comment, and we've even, and we'll look more at sun patterns just to see how much of that outdoor seating's in the shade in those hot days. But yes, that was a common comment, and we thought the same thing, that covered area could be extended a little bit further.
All of the dark area that you're seeing right about where my cursor is, we've got about, I want to say it's like 10 or 15 feet of covered area there. So we do have, not all of the seating you're seeing there is covered, but a large chunk of it is.
Well, I'll guarantee you, if you cover it all, there's going to be somebody that doesn't want it covered. I'm just bringing it up.
Unfortunately, the best views are also to the south, and that's where the sun's coming from. So we're definitely challenged with trying to create some shade there on the south facade.
Could you go back to one of the slides that show the overall footprint of the area?
This one here?
The new building in relation to the old building?
Yeah.
That blue box, you can kind of barely see it there. It's running east-west. It extends out a little bit further, closer to the parking lot, and a little bit further west than our building. Essentially, we turned our building north-south. So that pro shop is much further north, gets you closer to those tee boxes. The event space is extending south from what the existing building is.
I guess my question really is, can we build the new building without tearing down the old building first?
Simple answer is no. And that, again, went to, we could have put this next to that building, but then we're into the parking lot. We could have gone further south, but we're really limited by space going south of that current building and not interrupting and getting too close to the to the greens, especially with incoming golf balls. And then to the north, you've got the power line, so we were kind of landlocked there.
Anything else?
Construction period, 9 months, year?
I would say a year, yes, with the hope it could be 9 months. We talked about potentially starting in the fall after the biggest tournaments finish up, so as much work as possible can be done in the off-season, early spring when you've got a lot of rain. If you can get the footings in the fall, then that even helps. So, and we talked with the pro there and these guys a little bit about how they would operate without a building for that potential full season. There were thoughts of bringing in a portable building that they could use as a small pro shop, or just operating out of the cart barn that they have there now.
Thank you.
Okay,
Well, thank you all.
thank you for your time. Safe travels. Next item on the agenda is a public hearing for the 2025-26 budget. We need a motion to open the hearing, or we're just opened, okay?
Hello, I'm Heather Lindsley, the Finance Director. That doesn't sound very loud, is it? It's green.
Heather, why don't you lower that just a bit? And then speak closely to the microphone.
Is that better? I've never been tall. Okay, so it's budget time, my favorite time of the year. We're almost done, thank goodness. So we have several documents here tonight. One of the first things on the agenda is the fee schedule. There are minimal changes. There's a red line version there for you to see. I guess I'm simply just going to ask, does anybody have any questions on the fee schedule? I think most of our department heads are here, so if there's a specific question to ask towards it, they can answer it.
I had a question.
Sure.
For the aquatic center, there's a non-swimmer fee for $1. Is that like when you take your child to swimming lessons, then as a parent, I have to pay $1?
No, that's more like during open swim hours, like if somebody's coming in and not necessarily swimming with their kids, but we still have to be responsible for their safety and everything inside the building, then they would pay for that. So it's, it used to lovingly be called a grandparent fee because that's usually what it was, but yeah, it's just a non-swimmer fee.
Any other fee question? Okay, if not, we'll go down to the pay plan. So the pay plan, again, there's a red line version, and the only changes on that were the new positions that were incorporated into.
I think, Heather, I think they need to make a motion on the fee schedule.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
Go back to the fee schedule. You need to make a motion, sorry.
Entertain a motion for the fee schedule as presented.
Second.
So moved.
I didn't second, sorry.
Well,
Thought you made the motion.
I did not. I'm sorry. I can't.
I will read it.
You just always want to follow me, don't you?
I do.
Okay, motion passes. Next item up is the pay plan. Heather?
Okay, pay plan. Linda, will you open up the red line version? So, in the red line version of the pay plan, we had discussed ahead of time and agreed on a 2% COLA for all full-time employees. So that's identified on each of the lines. And then we have added the new positions that were incorporated into the personnel worksheet. So I also want to point out that, last year, some positions got an extra 2.5%. That's still documented by the asterisk on some of those positions. So if an employee is one of the asterisk positions, then they'll get the appropriate step plus an extra 2.5. So that asterisk will stick around forever. Much simpler this year with just the across the board 2%.
I guess not so much a pay deal, but the Director of General Services, could we maybe get a clarification about that position?
Sure, that's one of the new positions that was proposed for this year. Do you want to explain it, Tara?
Sure. Throughout our budget conversations, we had the conversation about Director of General Services. We had removed some other positions or not filled them and reorganized a little bit and requested to add the Director of General Services. So that would be under the city administrator, but then a number of department heads, I believe 6 of our department heads would report to that position, thereby reducing my direct reports from 16 to 10.
So the job description is what?
The job description is there. They will oversee all of those specific departments. They'll help with general administration sorts of tasks that are currently on my plate.
Okay. And we are going to open this up to the public for
Yes,
applications?
yes.
Okay. Questions? Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to
Nope, I'm
steal
good.
all your thunder.
Nope, that's all I have.
That will take place this coming year, 26?
Starting October 1.
Yep. Do we need a motion on that one too? Yep, so we'll need a motion on that.
Yep, I know. I'm just, I think they're thinking down there, but I can't tell. I'd entertain a motion for the pay plan.
I move we accept the pay plan for fiscal 25, 26.
Second. Thank you. Everybody vote. Okay. Thank you. Next item, capital improvement plan.
Okay, so I feel like we've discussed this like many times. So this is the 25-26 capital improvement plan. It has all of the needs and of the city by department, and then the funding source is also documented. So it's either supported by sales tax, enterprise funds, or highway allocation money. We have it separated out. In the top half is just general CIP, and then the bottom half in the blue is the discretionary items. Anything that is supported financially in the red is stuff that has made the cut. The stuff that does not have a red middle section is moved to future years, or maybe just not even going to happen. So. And then the bottom section is the enterprise funds. So those are the funds that generate a profit. They're supported by the revenues of each of those departments. But again, this has been in front of you many times. Any questions on that?
Questions for Heather? If not, I'd entertain a motion for this plan.
Recommend approval of the capital improvement plan for fiscal year 25 and 26.
Second.
Please vote. Okay, pass. Next item, budget.
Okay, so item 4D, there's several things. There's a sales tax receipt by type that just gives you how much we receive every year, what it's, motor vehicle tax, if it's half cent tax, that good stuff. So if you go clear down to the bottom, Linda, The second from the bottom report, it's gonna show that we're on track, and we're gonna probably bring in around 10.4 million is where we're probably projected to come in at. And the very bottom section, the 26, you can see that I'm budgeting to use 10 million of that. So, or that's what we're budgeting for revenue next year, excuse me, is 10 million. It's a little bit conservative, not as conservative as I've been in previous years, but the numbers are still good. This year, what's kind of driving that a little bit is we've had some huge Nebraska Advantage Act claims, so businesses can apply. And to date, we've already had refunds of about $242,000. So that's kind of why I came in the way I came in, just in case more companies get that next year, which I anticipate that probably would happen. So yes, our numbers are very strong. We're bringing in 10.4. Had those Advantage Acts not come in, we would probably be on 10.6.
Heather, you might explain further what the Advantage Act is, in case some of them don't understand, please.
Sure. The Advantage Act is if they spend sales tax within your community and within the state, then they can come back and they can get that refunded. They have to apply. They have to meet certain, I think there's job requirements on it. There's purchasing requirements on it, things like that. Then after the state confirms back and says, yes, all of these things qualify, then they get a percentage of their sales tax that they paid back to them. It's incentive to come, it's incentive to build in Nebraska, to build in Columbus, but then they do get some of that back. In the end, we benefit because, yes, their businesses have come here, so it's incentive to come, but we do. There's a little bit more visibility now of which companies are getting it and that, where we did not know that in the past. So that is good, but it's still a little bit of unknown. Sometimes companies, it sounds good, and then they get into the paperwork and they're like, oh yeah, no, we're not doing that. So it's kind of hard to predict. So by budgeting conservatively, I feel we have our bases covered there.
I think it's also worth saying that both the Nebraska Advantage Act and now the Imagine Nebraska Act both tap into our local sales tax. We really don't get a say in the approval of, we do not get a say in the approval of those projects at all. We just get a note from the Department of Revenue that it's taking part of our sales tax. So it's not, those are not projects you ever see or we ever see until they're approved. Just wanted you to make sure you knew that.
If it's a huge refund, we'll get a year's notice. They'll say like a year out. That's when it's going to come out, so you can kind of prepare a little bit, but that's all the notice you really get, so.
That has really hit some communities.
Oh, for sure, for
We've
sure. There's
got a
some that
couple-
aren't receiving any sales tax for the entire year
Affiliates getting
because their refunds were so large. So, in the end, it is a good program. It does bring business, so, but it's just whether or not you can sustain that or not, so. This is my attempt to try and alleviate some of that. So, that was that item. I think I also have attached there in this one, the history of the sales tax. This is something you've seen a lot. I've added the new sales tax for the new initiative that will come into effect in '27. That was voter approved. So this is just same information with the new stuff. And then the third piece of this.
Heather, before you get on too far, I just have one quick question. With the sales tax receipts that if the current fiscal year we're in, our budget, what you allotted for, how many of those months were we either under, were we ever under the budget?
Not in this current year, I don't think.
They were all over?
I think
Okay.
we've been over budget, everyone. Depends on if those big Advantage Acts came in. So that would have been the only reason we dipped below.
Okay.
But
I thought that was maybe what you were gonna say, but I just wanted to
yeah,
clarify.
and that's kind of like, when I budget per month like that, you just kind of have to go off of previous history. But again, if there's a huge business that comes in and pays a whole bunch in sales tax, that kind of skews those numbers. So the budget per month is kind of a guess sometimes. But.
Yeah, the only one was April receipts, which was February sales. We budgeted to receive $730,000 that month, and we received $645,000 because there was a $103,000 refund.
Yeah, so otherwise we've been above budget every month. So the last document, the budget report, this is something that you've seen for several years now with our new software. This is every line item for every department. So it's a quite lengthy document, 167 pages. It shows 2 years of actual activity. It shows our current year activity. It shows last year's budget, and then it shows the projected budget for next year. So this is a lot of numbers, a lot of information. And again, it's something that we've shown you before. This budget, this document is, it's representing the decision you guys made last Monday night to go into, to choose LB 34. So it has been adjusted for that. And I'll get into that here in the next line item, but this is just a lot of information. The department heads follow something similar to this every single month, but just for their own department. They don't, or departments, plural. They're not watching the entire document quite like I am, but it's a lot of information.
Questions for Heather? If not, I'd entertain approval of the budget for the fiscal 2025-26 as presented.
So moved.
Second?
Go ahead and vote. Okay, moving right along. 4E, setting property tax hearing and asking amount.
Yep. So attached in this document is that colorful sheet that I had sent you. This is it's a new worksheet that we haven't had in the past. And it's generated because of the new law change. So I kind of want to go over a little bit. We went over this last Monday night. And so I just kind of wanted to go over it a little bit better, a little bit, and explain things a little differently maybe to help everyone understand. So in the old days with the budget, we relied on the valuations, okay? So the assessor sets property valuations, that comes in at a number, and we kind of work the budget backwards from there. So do we want to keep the levy the same, then it's based off of your valuation. And based on, we used to have restricted funds authority that kind of limited that a little bit, but not really. So if a city wanted to grow, they could ultimately just grow as big as they wanted to within those restrictions. So it was more driven on valuations. What the state legislators came in and they said, no, we want to have more control. We want to restrict property tax growth. So what they have done now is they have said, whatever you received in property tax last year, so we received roughly 7 million, we're only going to let you grow a certain percent, okay? So LB 34 came in, and it says that you can grow by your real growth. Linda, do you want to open that up on the screen? So you can grow by real growth, thank you, which is set by the county assessor, okay? So the county assessor says our real growth was 1.91%, okay? Real growth is defined as new property, new businesses, something new. So it's new real growth. So that number is set by the assessor, that's 1.91%. LB 34 says you can also grow by inflation. Inflation is set by the state, and they chose to use December, and the December growth numbers for inflation were 5.17%. So that came in as a total of 7.8%, okay? So that's allowed growth. But also within the budget is LB, Lord, I lost the number. How did I forget the number? 644. So 644 has been around for a couple years. It's called the pink postcard law. So it says that if you grow too much, then you need to notify taxpayers. It allows you to go by real growth, which is the 1.91, and 2%, okay? So that's 3.91%. So if you're allowed to grow that and not notify anybody, not tell anybody, you can just take that growth and go. 644 says you can go and you can grow with what LB 34 says, but if you grow above the 644, then you need to notify taxpayers and go on the pink postcard. So that's the change in the law, is that they take existing property tax and then you move from there. So this year is the first year, it's considered the base year. So regardless of what choice you choose, if you choose to go with just 34, if you choose to go with 644, it doesn't matter. 25, 26 is going to be the base year. So from here on out, then you make the choice, which decision you're gonna make going forward in the future. So that's considerably different than what the ways it's been in the past. In the past, the assessor's been able to have a lot of impact on municipal budgets because of that valuation number. And we all know what's happened to property tax values. They've gone through the roof. So valuations still come into play. They still come there, because then what happens is if your property tax is here, which you know what you can grow, and valuations go up, your levy's going to drop, which is what has happened in our scenario. So either choice, if you choose 34 or you choose to just not go on the pink postcard, either way, the levy is going to drop for either scenario. One is more drastic than the other. So we're talking 223,000 is the difference between going on the pink postcard or taking LB 34. So that's the choice that needs to be made. We have to notify the county by tomorrow morning that if we're going on the pink postcard or not. So we need a decision tonight, because we need to know what to do. Last Monday, we made a meeting, and you decided that, yes, you wanted to go on the pink postcard. So all of the publications, everything has that built into it. So if you choose to go the other way, we'll switch the budget, we'll change it. But the budget is getting really tight. We're getting to a point where, the inflation was 5.17%. You can see up there in the green column, we are budgeting to increase operating expenses by 3%. That's after granting a 2% COLA. So 2% of the 3% was just wages. So our other operating expenses only went up 1%. That's commendable. Like, staff did an excellent job. Staff went back through. They tried to find areas where they could trim. I mean, they did a very good job. But we're getting to the point where if costs are inflating by 5.17%, how long can we sustain that? So that's the issue at hand, is it's getting difficult. So if we choose not to take LB 34, which is your prerogative, we probably will be having some pretty heavy conversations in the real quick future about cutting services next year. So that's all we can control at this point. The bottom section of this document, and so I should explain, the blue sections were 3 years historical budgets. So that kind of shows what has happened in the last 3 years. The yellow column is our current year. You can see that the operating expenses were increased 12.64%. That was the first year we actually budgeted for the addition of the Charlie Lewis station. So that was a pretty big jump. The green column is our current column, and the orange columns is our guess at the future. So conservatively, we budgeted for a valuation change of 5%. That's very conservative. We have not had 5% for several years. So I wanted to make sure we were super conservative. And then the property tax would be the 3.91%, which is what we currently have this year. I have no idea what that will be in the future, but that's our best guess. And then operating budget, we left at 3%, but again, it's getting really tough to keep it that low, but we budgeted conservatively. So you can see in the bottom left-hand section in that box, we have 4 years out, we have LB 644, and we have LB 34, and then the difference amongst each of those 4 years. So conservatively, over 4 years' time, we're talking about $949,000. On the right-hand side, that's the effect to the property tax based on $100,000 worth of property, 250,000 or 500,000. The average value of a home in Columbus is 269,000. So most people are going to fall in that middle category. And that's an annual cost increase of $21.46 for the difference between the two. It's not additional, it's just that's what the difference would be, is $21.
And Heather, if we were to wait and not take that option this year, we would lose that money, correct?
Correct.
And would never be able to recoup it.
Correct. Your base would stay where it currently is, and yes, you would lose that. It would take almost 6 years. If you go on the pink postcard, the 644, you're gonna drop your levy 0.8 cents. It will take almost 6 years to get your revenue back up to where we currently are. 6 years is a long time.
Heather, can you tell me again, what was the average cost of a home in Columbus?
I Googled it the other day and it said 269,000 is the current average value.
269? Thank you.
And that was just a Google search, so, I don't really know their source, but.
Heather, just a question that I had, and it may be my own mistake, but I had in my mind that our budget last year was 92 million, and we were looking at 94 million this year, and I see 73 and 75. Again, maybe I'm just using numbers that are, that I
Well,
derive.
it's
Pulled
just,
from somewhere.
that's total budget, that's total capital, that's
Right.
total everything.
What is total?
90, this
Okay,
is
all right.
operating,
Okay.
but 94
that's my answer.
total.
Okay, all right.
So it depends on what's in the capital for each given year.
Yep.
The last couple years, it's been escalated because we did this building, we've done some pretty big capital projects, but
But our
this
total-
is operating.
Operating, okay.
And as you remember, capital is supported by sales tax, right? So that's why we're looking at operating here.
Questions for Heather?
Heather, on the memo, on the tax memo, there's a sentence that's confusing me. It says, if we choose to go on the inflation scenario, we're gonna have to go on the pink slip.
Correct. So the inflation scenario is LB 34.
Correct.
So that lets us take the whole 7.08%. But the 644, which is the pink postcard, only lets us go up 3.91%.
Okay.
And so it says 644 says you can do it, but you just need to notify taxpayers.
Okay.
And we have to go in front and have a joint
Yep.
public hearing, which the county has already set. That would be September 18th at 6:15 at the Ag Park on the second floor, so.
So Heather, for clarification, the 223,805 that could be taken or not taken,
Correct,
you can never get it back if you don't take it.
correct.
What are we going to use it for this year?
Well, there's a number of things. So we were in the black, or we were in the red as of last Monday. We were negative, and that was quite concerning to us. And so I have been through expenses a million times, and there's just no more places to cut. And so I went back through and I looked at revenues, and I adjusted and balanced through revenues. My revenue estimates support current activity. So when I refer to revenue, I'm talking general fund revenue. So your golf course revenue, your pool revenues, things like that. We have a limited amount of options there. And so we went back through and we supported that activity. If those revenues do not come in for whatever reason next summer, then we're really in the red. And so this 223 supports that. It would help take that hit. If there's an expenditure that comes up that we did not see coming, did not plan for, it covers that. When we budget, we're right there. And so it helps tremendously with any kind of operating expense or any kind of revenue shortfall.
I mean, a budget is just a good estimate.
It
Your
is.
best guess. I think
It
we
is.
all understand that.
But
But
you have to conservatively prepare for the future to put the city in the best position that we can. And so this allows that.
And I would just add that this is my 9th budget here, and this is the slimmest
Yes,
budget we've had
yes.
with going on the pink postcard budget. A couple of years ago, you all elected to staff Charlie Lewis Station. The only reason we could do that is because we were in the black by more than $1 million in our operating budget. And now with going on the pink postcard, it's about $500,000. And we had a discussion at that time about that there was gonna have to be some hard decisions made about revenues and expenses in the next few years. So I think we're kind of at that place now.
Yeah. You know, in operating budget is $72 million. I reached out to a couple department heads and I said, you know, can you help me here? And one graciously offered 5,000, and I very politely said, thanks, but it's 5,000, but yes, we'll take it. So it's to that point where costs just keep escalating, and it's just harder and harder to come up with it. But staff, we need to really commend staff for as diligently as they are watching their budgets as they are. So it's just getting to the point where we're tight.
At the end of the day, we're reducing the mill levy.
Yes, the
One
levy is
better
going
than the
down either
other.
way.
So
I think total valuations went up over 8% citywide,
that's huge.
so. It is. And you know, the laws have changed, you know, they're,
And I think if by passing this up, we would be being fiscally unresponsible to the city, as where, you know, we're always preaching about being fiscally responsible, and to pass this up, I really feel that we'd be doing the city just injustice, or whatever, however you want to say it. But
I did reach out to the League of Municipalities, and I talked to Christy there, she's the head lawyer, and I said, are we interpreting the laws correctly? Are we doing what's best for the city? And she absolutely concurred, and she said, everybody across the state has been calling us, asking us for guidance, and she says, we're telling everybody the same message. Do not use the exceptions, go on the pink postcard, take the inflation, set your base year. So that was reassuring to me because, you know, laws are to be interpreted, right? And so, you know, Tara and I had talked it over many times, like, nobody wants to go on the pink postcard, but laws have changed, and I think we need to go on the pink postcard. I did make a declaration 2 years ago that I'd never go back on, but I'm willing to change my mind for the benefit of the city, so.
Okay, in front of us, we have two options. Option one is the pink postcard recommending setting the property tax hearing for September 18, 2025 at the joint public hearing with the property tax asking of $7,562,660.83. Or option two, no pink postcard, recommend setting the property tax hearing for September 15, 2025 at a public hearing before the city council with the property tax ask of $7,338,855.48. Do I have a motion for either one of these options?
I move we accept option number one.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. Go ahead and vote yea or nay. Motion passes.
Thank you.
She voted for us.
hold on, it
Yeah.
didn't go through, nobody voted,
Okay.
at least I.
Do a roll call.
Can you get her?
Voting on something else?
No, it didn't go through.
We never voted.
Registered or something. Now they're gonna do a roll call.
Yay.
Barr,
Yes.
Hemer,
Yes.
Jablonski,
Yes.
Lopez. Yes. Walensky,
Yes.
Rob,
Yes.
Schilling,
Yes.
Chair Jablonski, the motion passes.
Okay, thank you. We have, this was a public hearing for any of these items. Is there anybody from the public that would like to speak to any of this? If not, we're going to go and have a motion to close the hearing.
Make a motion to close the hearing.
Oh, we have one.
Does this refer to any of the 5 things that were above, or is this just for?
Linda, would you please identify yourself, please?
My name is Linda Clater. I live at 3619 21st Street.
Sure. It's open,
And this is for the committee of the whole, is correct?
well, I guess, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anything related to the budget hearing?
I guess I do want to say I had a really hard time hearing the council members in the front, so it was hard to hear what was going on other than what was spoken from this. So I apologize if I'm not speaking up at the right time. So I do have a comment. I guess it's a concern. This refers to the pay plan number 4B. And in hearing all of the rest of the comments from the staff and from the council as to the tightness of the budget and the way things have just really been locked down and trying to come up with every dollar possible, I have a large concern with the new position that is evidently being put in place, the Director of General Services. It seems to me that it's troublesome that several positions that were active positions of a lower pay have been eliminated in favor of an administration position that has a potential of $177,000 per year. That may not be the starting, but that is the potential, and that's seems like a lot for an admin position when there are positions that have been eliminated that are active positions of basically what keeps the wheels turning. And so it's a concern, and I just wanted to state that concern. And it became clear to me as I was hearing the comments being said about how tight the budget is, but yet there is being a large new position putting in place. So I just wanted to state that. So thank you.
Thank you, Linda. Any other comments? Not, I'd entertain a motion to close the hearing.
So moved. Second.
Please vote. We are adjourned. Thank you for your time.
Our committee of the whole meeting just adjourned.